Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. With another presentation from play Hamlet by William Shakespeare, this is Muhammad Ibrahim Kokar presenting before you another soliloquy from this drama Hamlet written by William Shakespeare. The soliloquy that we are going to define now is the most famous soliloquy of William Shakespeare that is uttered by Prince Hamlet in titular play Hamlet. The soliloquy is to be or not to be. I will be reading the lines from soliloquy and will try my best to explain the message that is conveyed by William Shakespeare through Hamlet. For soliloquy and its importance, we have already discussed it in our first soliloquy. Now this soliloquy, to be or not to be, occurs in Act 3, Scene 1 of the play Hamlet. There are 35 lines in this soliloquy. Hamlet says, "To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing and them." Hamlet is caught between two options. Every human being in his life comes across with this difficult situation where he thinks like Hamlet, to be or not to be. Now Hamlet thinks either to live in this world or not to live, but Hamlet has solid arguments for this. Hamlet doesn't decide hurriedly, but he weighs and measures the options. He says that to be or not to be, that is the question. The most important question of life is to be or not to be, but how? Whether it's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Either we should accept and succumb to the arrows, to the slings of fortune, or the second option that Hamlet offers is to take arms against the sea of troubles and by opposing and them. Either to suffer silently or to stand bravely against all difficult hours of life. Now a man has these two options, either to suffer the fate silently or stand against all odds. And then Hamlet goes on, to die, to sleep no more, and by sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is here to its consummation, devotedly to be wished. Hamlet says that if we are not able to live, the second option for us is to die. And death is like sleep. What are the benefits of sleep? When you sleep, you forget all the worries of life. For time being, for short notice, for that short period of life, when you are sleeping, you forget all the worries, tensions and problems of life. As if you have sought refuge against all the odds of life. So Hamlet says that either to live and face bravely the challenges of life or to die, because death may bring solace to you the way sleep brings consummation, the way sleep brings peace. But Hamlet says this seems to be the best option, that one must opt for death. But then Hamlet has something more to say. Let's see what Hamlet says. To die, to sleep perchance to dream. Hamlet tells that if you prefer to die, means you prefer to sleep, but when you sleep you have dreams. But all dreams are not beautiful. Sometimes we have nightmares. And then, there's the rub. And Hamlet said that there is a very hidden question, a very challenging situation is for man, because no one knows that what sort of dreams, what sort of nightmares we are supposed to watch in our sleep of death. Because if you are watching a nightmare in your dream, if you are watching nightmare in your sleep, when you wake up, you get out of that. But once you are dead, now no one knows that what side of nightmares are there, and there is no returning back from there. So Hamlet explains it further that for in that sleep of death, what dreams may come when we have shuffled of this mortal coil. Means when we have ended this mortal life and we are sleeping in the sleep of death, we are not aware that what kind of nightmares that sleep of death will show us, must give us pause. So So Hamlet says that we stop the decision of death and now opting for other ways. There is the respect that makes calamity of so long life. So Hamlet says that once we decided not to die, once we decided not to commit suicide and not to end our life, then we have to suffer the long and difficult situations of life. Now what are the problems that life offers? Hamlet has beautiful words for this. That makes the calamity of so long life, and we are supposed to bear the long periods of life. And what are the problems? For who would bear the whip and scorns of time? We have to face the problems of time. Now there are round about 5 problems that Hamlet shares with us that life offers. The first one is the oppressor's wrong. Second one is the proud man's contumely. The third one is the pangs of despised love. The fourth one is the law's delay. The fifth one is the insolence of office. And sixth one says the spurns that passion merit of the unworthy tax. Now, if we analyze these lines, we have a huge subject matter to understand that what challenges and what problems life offer to us. Hamlet tells us that if you prefer to live, you have to face the oppressor's wrong. Our lives have problems where oppressors, tyrants, dictators, masters, cruel owners create lot of problems for common subjects. We have to face their problems. The second problem is the proud man's contumely. The people here hate downtrodden people. The people here don't like the common masses. Then the third problem is the pangs of despised love. Everybody falls in love and everyone has to face the pangs of despised love, the pain of the love. The fourth one is the law's delay. Hamlet has great understanding of human problems. He says that even law cannot protect us. Even law takes time to bring justice. And when justice delayed is justice denied. The life becomes bitter. The taste of life becomes sore. And man has to suffer the thorns of life. Hamlet says the issues and problems don't end here. The insolence of office. The problems that are faced by common men in the offices. The bureaucrats, the officers, the administrators, they create problems and play havoc with the lives of common men. And above all, the spurns that passion merit of the unworthy tax. And in these offices, unworthy, unmerited, and those who don't qualify the post are appointed in those offices, and they create more problems than the common man even dreams of. So Hamlet says that when he himself might his coitus beg with a bare bodkin, why anyone would bear the burden of long and weary life, full of suffering and toil. So Hamlet goes on and says that with a bare bodkin, who would fardels bear to grunt and sweet under a weary life, but there the dread of something after death, that undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveler returns, puzzles the will. So Hamlet tells us that the best solution to avoid all these problems is to get killed, is to die. But then Hamlet once again poses a question mark that what sort of the problems we are supposed to face after death. The problems that we are supposed to face right now are well-known problems. We can find solutions to these problems. But the problems that are posed after death are not known to anyone, because nobody has returned from the marches of death. Nobody has returned from grave to tell us that what sort of problems we have to face there. So Hamlet says, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Here Hamlet tells us that the problems known are better than the problems unknown. We cannot sacrifice our life for the problems that we don't know what sort of problems we have to face. Thus consciousness make cowards of us all. And then Hamlet complains that this makes us coward. We do not take action. We do not kill ourselves. We do not commit suicide. We do not prefer to die than facing all these problems. And thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied over with the pale cast thought, and in price of great pith and movement, with this regard their currents turn away and lose the name of action. And Hamlet says that this fear of problems faced after death makes us coward, and we lose our action. We do not take proper action. We do not kill ourselves, and we prefer to live in this world while facing all sort of the problems. Though life is full of problems, life is full of changes, life is full of all sort of difficulties. But we are supposed to face all difficulties because we don't know that what sort of difficulties will follow us after death. And then Hamlet says, and he notices something, soft you now, the fair Ophelia, nymph in thy origins, we all my sense remembered. Hamlet feels that there is presence of Ophelia around him, so he addresses her, he requests her that he might be remembered with all his sins. Hamlet tells Ophelia that he is full of sins and she might pray for his sins to be resolved. With this, Hamlet ends this soliloquy. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope that you will go through the text and then you will match this explanation of mine with the real text and will further evolve for your own understanding. Thank you very much for watching this video.